What happens when Hollywood's most charming smart mouth meets daytime television's most outspoken personality and neither one is willing to back down? The answer is television gold that nobody saw coming. A clash so intense it left producers scrambling and audiences picking sides. Before we dive into this explosive encounter, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because trust me, you're going to want to share your thoughts on this one. It was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance. Ryan Reynolds, fresh off another blockbuster success, was making the rounds to promote his latest project. The View seemed like the perfect platform, a safe space where celebrities could chat about their work, share a few laughs, and connect with daytime audiences. But from the moment Reynolds stepped onto that familiar set, something felt different. The energy was charged, electric in a way that made everyone slightly uncomfortable. Whoopi Goldberg sat at the head of the table. Her usual confident demeanor was amplified by something else, something that seemed almost predatory. As Reynolds settled into his chair, flashing that trademark smile that had charmed millions, Whoopi's eyes narrowed slightly. She had clearly done her homework, and it wasn't the kind of research that leads to softball questions. "So, Ryan," Whoopi began, her voice carrying that unmistakable tone that every celebrity learns to fear. "You've built quite the career on being the funny guy, the irreverent one who says what others won't. But some people are saying that maybe it's time to grow up. Maybe it's time to use that platform for something more serious." Reynolds, still maintaining his easy smile, tilted his head slightly. "Well, Whoopi, I appreciate the feedback, but I think entertainment has its place. People need to laugh, especially these days. If I can provide that escape, that moment of joy, I think that's pretty valuable." "Escape," Whoopi repeated, her voice dripping with barely concealed disdain. "That's an interesting word choice. Some might say it's more like avoidance. While real issues are happening in the world, while people are struggling, you're making jokes about it. You're profiting from people's need to, as you put it, escape reality." The other hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the usual gentle ribbing or playful banter that characterized most celebrity interviews. This felt personal, targeted in a way that made everyone on set nervous. Reynolds, however, seemed unfazed, though his smile had tightened almost imperceptibly. "I think you're oversimplifying things," Reynolds replied. His voice still measured, but with a slight edge creeping in. "Comedy has always been a way for people to process difficult times. It's not about avoiding reality. It's about finding a way to cope with it. And honestly, I think that's more valuable than lecturing people about what they should and shouldn't find funny." Whoopi's eyebrows shot up. "Lecturing? Is that what you think this is? I'm trying to have a real conversation about responsibility, about using your influence for good instead of just for profit. And I'm trying to explain that making people laugh is using my influence for good," Reynolds shot back, his composure starting to crack slightly. "Not everything has to be a political statement or a social justice lecture. Sometimes people just need to smile. And if that's what I can give them, then I'm proud of that." The tension in the studio was palpable. Camera operators were adjusting their angles, sensing that something significant was happening. The other hosts, Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, and the rest, looked like deer caught in headlights, unsure whether to jump in or let this play out. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice dropping to that dangerous register that anyone who had worked with her knew meant trouble. "You know what I think, Ryan? I think you hide behind humor because you're afraid to take a real stand on anything. It's easy to make jokes. It's harder to actually care about something enough to risk your precious image." Reynolds' smile finally disappeared completely. That's rich coming from someone who's made a career out of being angry on television. You want to talk about hiding behind something? You hide behind outrage because it's easier than actually engaging with different perspectives. Outrage. Whoopi's voice rose sharply. I'm passionate about issues that matter. I use this platform to shine a light on injustice, to give voice to the voiceless. What do? You make jokes about everything and stand for nothing. I stand for the idea that people don't need to be preached to every second of every day, Reynolds replied, his own voice rising to match hers. I stand for the idea that joy and laughter are just as important as anger and activism. And I stand for the idea that maybe, just maybe, not every conversation needs to be a battle. The studio fell silent except for the low hum of cameras and equipment. Everyone could feel that they had crossed a line, that this had moved beyond professional disagreement into something much more personal and volatile. Whoopi's eyes flashed with something dangerous. You know what your problem is, Ryan? You're privileged and you're comfortable and you don't want to be challenged. You want to keep making your little jokes and collecting your paychecks while the world burns around you. Reynolds stood up slowly, his hands pressed flat against the table. And you know what your problem is, Whoopi? You've forgotten that people who disagree with you aren't automatically evil or stupid. You've become so convinced of your own righteousness that you can't even have a conversation without turning it into an interrogation. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Producers were frantically gesturing from behind cameras, but both Reynolds and Whoopi were locked in their confrontation, neither willing to back down. The other host sat frozen, realizing they were witnessing something that would be talked about for years. I think, Whoopi said slowly, her voice deadly quiet, that you need to check your privilege before you come on this show and dismiss the real work